Hi, I'm Michael Max from Yongkang Chinese Medicine Clinic. I'm here today with my good friend and acupuncturist from the Great Northwest, David Lerner. He's an acupuncturist, herbalist, and nutritionist. And really happy to have you here today, David. We're going to talk a little bit about nutrition and some things that you can do to keep your metabolism healthy and your weight down. Hiya, David.
Hello there, Michael.
So you're an acupuncturist, you're an herbalist, but oddly enough, you're a nutritionist as well. Could you give me a little background on you and how you got interested in the whole nutritional aspect here?
I'd say it's been a lifelong interest, Michael. It's something I've been really fascinated with my whole life. I've been really fascinated with the idea that there's a big difference between someone feeling normal and someone feeling optimal, I've felt that way my whole life, and I just feel blessed that I've been able to turn my passion into my career with what I'm doing. It started at a very young age when I was a little child. My grandfather was a big proponent of using nutrition and nutritional supplements. He used to listen to Carlton Fredericks. He read all of Adele Davis's books, and I found him a pretty intriguing character when I was a young kid.
That's pretty unusual back in.
I went to acupuncture school, which was a great move for me. I love Chinese medicine. I graduated in 1994, and I continued on and did the herbal medicine program, went to China, studied over there. And since that time, what I found is that while Chinese medicine is wonderful, I found Chinese dietary therapy to be somewhat limiting for my patient population.
Tell me a little bit about the nutritional supplements that you like to use. I know that right now supplements are a huge business. All you have to do is Google health or vitamins or any of this and on the internet, and you'll get all these websites that promise you abundant health through their supply of pills. It sounds like you agree some supplementation is necessary, but certainly too much is probably not a good idea. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think people are sort of thrown to the wolves in a lot of ways. There's very little regulation on the nutritional supplement companies, the products they put out, the quality they put out, and basically the statements that people can say about nutritional supplements, the sky's the limit. So there's no one has to let you know if there's actual clinical data backing up what they're saying. So sure, and I have issues with this with my patients too. You can scan the internet and there's a lot of people making a lot of comments, and it's really hard to know who to believe. There's no substitute for food. So if you're going to use nutritional supplements as a way to say, I can skimp on things like sleep, I can skimp on things like diet, that's a big mistake. The primary things we have to work on are diet, sleep, and exercise, and then nutritional supplements come after that.
So,
that being said,
a fistful of pills in the morning is not breakfast.
A fistful of pills is not breakfast. That's right. That's right. And it's a really good point. It's something we really have to remember. That being said, I do find that it's necessary. If we want to reach optimal levels of health, I do find that it's necessary for folks to take nutritional supplements. And the ones that I like, that I think of most often, I really like the idea of a smoothie. We call a medicinal smoothie. Finding meat that is grazing on grass like it should naturally has a much different nutritional profile than meat from, conventional meat from a feedlot.
Right. We're actually pretty lucky here in the Midwest because there's a lot of places that do grass-fed beef.
That's
so
great.
It's pretty easy to find here.
The nutritional profile is hugely different, particularly
how's grass-fed beef different than, say, corn-fed beef?
One of the big differences in terms of omega fatty acids. So the ratio of omega-6 fatty acids, which tend to be more inflammatory, to omega-3 fatty acids, which have a plethora of medicinal benefits, particularly the fact that they're anti-inflammatory, is quite a bit different. There's a much lower ratio of omega-6 to omega-3s in grass-fed beef than there is in grain-fed beef. Also, there's something called CLA, conjugated linolenic acid, I think it is, which is a really important nutrient. It's shown up in some of the cancer research. It's shown up in some of the weight loss research, and you'll get that in grass-fed beef. You won't get it in grain-fed beef. Vitamin K2, which is a really, really important nutrient we don't hear much about. We only hear about K1, which comes from green leafy vegetables. The only place we can get K2 is from fermented foods, such as natto, which
that's delicious.
Or from fatty cuts of meat or cheese from cows that graze on grass.
Seriously?
Yep, they get it from the grass and they convert it in their own cells, and then we eat the the meat.
So unless we're eating sauerkraut or natto or chodofu or any of these, fairly stinky foods, it would be good for us to be eating some fatty material from grass-fed beef.
That's right. Totally, yeah. Or else we're not getting any K2.
What about fish? How would you compare the profile of the fatty acids in say wild-caught salmon with that of grass-fed beef?
They're both good omega-3 sources. The deep water fish are going to be better. They're packed with omega-3s. So I don't think if they have any omega-6s, it's a very small amount. So if you're just looking specifically for omega-3s, fish is going to be a better source. And it's an excellent protein too.
Okay. Well, let's get back to supplements for a moment. What kind of supplements would you recommend, just in general?
Yeah. So in general, if we're doing,
let's get back to that smoothie here.
If we're doing something like a medicinal smoothie, we'll oftentimes use protein. I love green powders. They're packed. They're nutrient dense with chlorophyll-rich nutrients. Most of us don't get enough fruits and vegetables, so it's a good insurance policy that we're going to get some. They have a lot of superfoods like spirulina, chlorella, wheatgrass, barley grass. The one I like best is Super Berry Greens by Amazing Grass.
Yeah, I've been taking that one myself here recently.
It doesn't taste bad.
It actually tastes pretty good for pond
scum. Tastes pretty good. Yeah. Right. It's reasonably priced. And from my opinion, it's, and I have a preference for whole food supplements, supplements that come from foods rather than isolated nutrients. So from my opinion, that's your perfect multivitamin. I don't think people need to take a multivitamin if they're taking that. I think we're messing with nature a little bit by taking isolated nutrients out of a whole food. If you look at vitamin C, for instance, most of the ascorbic acid comes from corn sugar. That's a lot different than taking a supplement from amla or camu camu or lemon or lime, foods that are high in vitamin C and have a whole bunch of cofactors in addition to just ascorbic acid that have a lot of benefits that we may not know about yet.
Right. So when you take the vitamin outside of the context in which you find it, there's all kinds of micronutrients and trace elements and various things that usually work with it that you're not getting then.
Totally, and it's stuff that we don't know about yet. So for us to kind of go out there and say ascorbic acid is all we need and we don't need those other cofactors, I think it is very arrogant of us.
Okay. So back to your smoothie here.
Yeah, back to smoothie.
Yeah, back to smoothie.
On my website, I do have a smoothie recipe which lists a whole bunch of ingredients, but the main things I'm thinking about are the protein, I'm thinking about a green powder, and then I also add my teacher, Donnie Yance, has a nutritional supplement company called Natura. They make a product called Botanical Treasures. I think we refer to a lot of the herbs that he puts in there, herbs like curcumin, quercetin, green tea, resveratrol. We refer to them as multitasking herbs. They have a lot of different features that just help us reach more homeostasis in the body. In particular, they're great anti-inflammatories. They're great antioxidants. They help to block certain signaling pathways that are involved in cancer. I think they're pretty much good. Anybody can take those. In addition to the smoothies, the things that I think people should be taking are extra antioxidants.
And where would you get those? Where's your best sources of the
certainly food should be our priority here. Food should be our priority here, so it's going to be produce. It's going to be brassica vegetables, green leafy vegetables, different color vegetables. It's going to be berries, dark berries, things like that. One of the highest antioxidants in liquid form things we can be taking is actually espresso. So coffee, which takes a really big hit as being such a bad food, well, I don't know that it's such a bad food. I think it has some benefits, and it's got an incredibly high antioxidant level. Dark chocolate has an incredibly high antioxidant level. Those can be useful foods to incorporate. That being said...
So mocha espresso with our morning berry green sort of thing would be an okay start on the day?
Maybe not for everybody, but as a general rule, in terms from an antioxidant perspective, it's a great antioxidant in terms of food source antioxidant. That being said, we have an ideal diet. We're being flooded with free radicals and toxins from viruses and from the water we drink and from the air we breathe. We still need additional antioxidants. This is an area I think everybody needs to take a supplement in. The ones I like best are alpha-lipoic acid, coenzyme Q10, and N-acetylcysteine. Donnie Yance's company Natura makes a product called CV Rescue that has two forms of coenzyme Q10 in it. It has alpha-lipoic acid, it has ginkgo, it has hawthorn. That in combination with Botanical Treasures are my two favorite antioxidant supplements.
So you take these two, And you're pretty much covered for the antioxidants. By the way, I just want to mention we're not in business with Donnie, and we're not promoting projects. We get no kickbacks or anything. We're just talking as practitioners here about things that we found helpful for our patients.
That's right. I'm going to mention the products that I use and that I find healthy, but I have no financial ties to them at all. That's right. Probiotics, unless we're getting a lot of, unless we're consuming a lot of fermented foods, and let's keep in mind that if you go to the grocery store and buy sauerkraut, that's pasteurized. That kills all the good bacteria in there. That doesn't count. You have to get stuff that's not pasteurized.
Well, we have to make our own homemade Nocto.
You got to make your own, yeah. You'll get some from yogurt. Unless we're consuming a lot of that stuff, it's a good idea to supplement with probiotics. The research on probiotics is really impressive, not just for intestinal health, but things like immune health as well, because there's so many immune receptors in the gut.
Isn't there also a connection between high stress and weight gain as well?
Totally, yeah, completely. So
give us just a minute or two on that. How does that work?
Sure. Basically, what happens is cortisol, which is a stress-handling hormone, when cortisol increases, it's basically sending a message to the body that we're under incredible amounts of stress right now. We need glucose. Let's get more glucose. That's another way that glucose gets into the system. Unfortunately, it does it many times by taking it from lean muscle mass. So it's a way we get cortisol is catabolic. It breaks down. In this case, it's breaking down things like bone and muscle mass, not the place we want to be getting glucose from. But if we're in a stress response, the body thinks we need glucose, we need it quickly. That's going to kick up insulin. That's going to increase insulin resistance. That's going to get stored as triglycerides.
Okay, so let me make sure I got this right. When we're under stress, the body wants more glucose, and it's first going to pull it from the lean muscle mass.
When cortisol's involved, when cortisol's involved. When cortisol's involved, there's a process called gluconeogenesis, and it's going to go after. It's going to break it down from any source it can. So it's not going to go for fat sources. Oftentimes, it's going to break it down from protein.
So how do we get it to go for the fat sources instead of our lean muscle?
Well, for one, is we need to learn how to keep cortisol managed. So taking things like adaptogen herbs and keeping ourselves out of a stress response as much as possible, doing relaxation exercises, getting as much rest to keep cortisol stabilized. That's going to help. That's ultimately going to be the answer to that.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that'll probably do it for us today. We're going to pick it up again here in a day or two, and we'll talk a little bit about inflammation and what kind of trouble it brings to us.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Michael.